guys have a couple updates and then we're gonna have the panelists come in. And then has everybody checked in? Okay. All right, couple 18 updates. Tau Sigma Honor Society membership deadline is tomorrow, so please start accepting if you do plan on joining. For those who did receive a book voucher for spring 2025, the deadline is April 1st, 2025. And then lastly, do you guys recognize this? Okay, good. I want you guys to get familiar with this because this has all the GSI events for spring 2025. I'll also be emailing to you guys and then I'll set it down so you guys can grab one if you want. Just yet. And we'll get started in a little bit.
Muted. Okay, now go.
You guys. So before guest speakers come in, we actually have another guest speaker that will be kind of touching base in regards to Tau Sigma. Julian Bird, the president of Tau Sigma.
All right, for Tau Sigma, just a few updates that we have coming up. Like Heidi said, we do have our deadline for those trying to get accepted to Tau Sigma for as of tomorrow. We will be setting up the induction ceremony. So induction ceremony will be hosted on March 22nd. It's at either 10 or 11. I'll have to verify that. But it'll be at 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. For members, you are welcome out. We're gonna send out I'll set up a registration. So if you want to attend, just make sure you register so that we know you're coming, so we can plan appropriately. Other thing that we have coming up will be officer elections. Those will be launched after spring break. So we'll launch the officer elections. Anybody's part of Tau Sigma is available to run, and then all the members will vote on the new officer. So it's gonna be an open ballot. Well, closed ballot technically, I guess. But as a member, you get to decide who you have as your officers. So if you're interested in running, start meeting everybody now. That way you can get votes. If you're not interested in running, start meeting everybody now so you know who you're voting for. That's all the updates I really have for Tau Sigma right at the moment though. We have a few socials coming out pretty soon. I'll keep everybody posted. And if you haven't done your volunteer hours, make sure you turn them in. Those are due, we're gonna say April 15th right now, but they're due by the end of the semester. So make sure you get those in. If you need help with those, feel free to reach out to myself or any of the officers at tausigma@usc.edu. Thank you.
to our panelists. If Dominique wants to come up here and kind of introduce yourself in regards to all your career, your undergrad, and all, just a couple words so they can get to know you. Okay.
Well, hello. I was not aware that I'll be doing a little introduction, if I don't mind. My name is Dominique Pugh. I am a certified life coach and mental health consultant. Currently, I work in higher education. I've been working in higher education for the last 6 years. I have a heavy educational background, which is kind of what led me to the mental health field. I started a business called For Brown Girls Wellness Resources. And that kind of prompted me to go back to school. Currently, I am getting a degree in clinical mental health to become a therapist. I've had a little bit of moving around as far as trying to figure out what type of entrepreneurship ventures I wanted to explore. And I have a degree in communications with a minor in English. And that is when I kind of started teaching. And as I got more into education, I felt like it fits, but I want to be able to do more. My degree was kind of vague. And so I went back to school and got a degree in education with a concentration in adult education. So that is where I am currently. I love what I do. I love working in minority communities. That is my focus. And I know with my next degree, just gonna keep going. I have other ventures I'm looking forward to, exploring. So that's where I am right now.
Thank you. Thank you. Whatever you like. And we have Tremaine and both from him, if you would like to share anything in regards to your background, career.
Yeah, Tremaine Kwashibi. Hello to you all. So I'm a country boy from a small town with 500 people, and I always liked business. I tried to buy my first house at 16, and I told my parents, I was like, "Yo, I found a house. It was like $11,000." They didn't believe me. It was $11,000. That would have been a lick by now, and it was in the state capital. Man, that joint would be like 1.5 now. I would not be here. But I always knew I loved business. I went to school for my undergraduate was in business and just kind of got involved. My first job was cutting grass, and then I babysat this lady cat. It was like anything that had like a hustle behind it, where you can make some money. I sold sneakers. Like I always wanted to have the latest shoes, but I was like, my parents want to bounce. So I was like, I'm about to get me a sneaker. And at that time, man, the discount was 35%. Yeah, I missed that discount. And so I'm also in higher ed, but jump forward to everything. I love anything with people. I love people. People is my passion. And working with people, I hope to get to know people I don't know here today, and also panelists that I don't know. So I do real estate, and the goal is just to help people get into homes, affordable homes. So that's just a little bit about me. So super excited. Kudos. Yeah, thank you. Likewise. How you doing, my friends? All right. How you doing, my friends? All right.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hello.
My name is Jarrell Norris. I'm the CEO and FEO of Fresh Tech Solutions. Y'all probably wondering, what is the FEO? I was. It's the Fresh Executive Officer of Fresh Tech Solutions. We are a tech firm specializing in mobile app development, websites, software, pretty much anything in the tech space. But I graduated from Fairview A&M University, in engineering background. And my dream was to work for somebody for 40 years. I didn't have any entrepreneurship experience in my family when I was growing up. So I graduated and I went to UTSA for grad school, got hired as a software engineer, and found out quickly that I did not like corporate America when I got hired. So I started Fresh Tech in 2018, and I am just loving life and tech and happy to be here.
I'm Nicholas. I'm Nicholas Mbezwe Daniel, also a graduate from Prairie View A&M. Was 1 year ahead of me at school. He's also my frat brother. My sister. Sorority sisters right there. So I graduated as a chemical engineer from Prairie View A&M. Graduated in 2013. Went into the job market, it was dry. So I went back to do my master's in engineering. And midway through that, I got an offer to join AIG as a field engineer, risk engineer, sorry. They were building out a whole program out there, and they wanted engineers that could go to the plants that are all over Houston as chemical engineers and understand the risk that was there and interpret that so that they could underwrite properly. So less losses. If you heard of some of the big fires that happened, billions of dollars, they're trying to avoid that. So I did that for a few years. I saw so many different businesses. I went all over. I worked from home from the get-go. I've never been in an office situation. I ran my own business within the hub, drove everywhere, drove to different sites. I saw places like quarries. I saw dynamite being detonated. I went to the #2 chicken producer in the whole of the US. And so I really got a good cross section of businesses. And I noticed that although businesses are different in what they do, they all kind of run the same way. So I got a quick crash course on how businesses run. After that, 3 years into it, they got a new CEO at AIG and they decided we don't like that initiative anymore. We don't need all these expensive engineers. So they shut down the division. So I had to pivot. Darrell at the same time was making a change and he was starting Fresh Tech. And I had more time on my hands. So we started working together. And I got introduced to technology and I started to find my way into technology and figure out who I was outside of the space that I had before I discovered what my skills were and what transfers. And project management, product managers start to come into focus as my vehicle to kind of wield my engineering skills into a different industry. So once I started to discover that, I had to make it official. So I did my master's at Georgetown as project management. And in between that, I got other roles and with some other companies while still building my entrepreneurship as well, working in Fresh Tech, Tech Launch, then eventually launching my own imprint, Aegis, for project management to help other businesses. I'm passionate about helping people like Darrell or people like any other entrepreneurs that have ideas in their head. They want to do things. Sometimes there's too much for them to do by themselves. I'm passionate about unlocking them and helping them do those things, plugging into people's visions and making it come to fruition. It's what kind of drives me. And also on a bigger scale with people like him, but in large businesses, it's the same. Given my skills so they can create things that change the world. That's what drives me. So that's me, and that's what I like to do.
So far, does anybody have a question that they'd like to ask?
So my question is, how did you decide whether to take like the traditional career route or pursue entrepreneurship, and what advice would you give those considering both?
Is it somebody specific? Do you want all of us to answer or just whoever feels?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was up to it.
So, like I said, when I started my college career, I didn't know anything about entrepreneurship. So my dream was to work for corporate America for 40, 50 years and retire. So what happened, why I got out of corporate America was I worked for the largest software consulting firm in the world. It's called Tata Consulting Services. They have about 500,000 employees. So you can imagine how quickly you can move up in a company like that. That's pretty much the reason, one of the main reasons why I left corporate America, because there was no room to move up in a company that large. Also, I was getting extremely underpaid. I didn't know it. At my time, they hired me for a software engineer, but I was doing business relationship management. I was doing campus recruiting. I was doing technical interviews, but they were only paying me for that one thing. But the job that I worked for, they were paying consulting company for all of those things. So salary was probably around $80,000-$90,000 a year. And I thought it was great coming out at 21 years old. But when I found out they was paying $450,000 for my time, I started rethinking life. So that was my story. Also, they didn't want me to move back to Houston, and I was in San Antonio, and yeah, that was a problem. So I jumped out cold feet, not knowing anything about entrepreneurship. It was very scary. I did have the technical expertise, but I didn't know anything about business. So I leaned on mentors for that. It was a rocky, of course, it's going to be rocky. Entrepreneurship, the ups and downs. It's not for the faint-hearted. 8 years in, and I wanted to quit about 8,000 times, but we're still here. But yeah, I think that you have to be passionate about it. You have to want something. I never want anybody to be an entrepreneur just to be an entrepreneur. Have a passion, have a why.
I'm a little bit different, but not that different from him, because I do both. Out of necessity, but also because they kind of provide different things for me. I currently have a role with Dell Technologies, product manager there. And there, in the few years I've worked there, I've had exposure to things that you may not have as an entrepreneur. So you have businesses that are working on a large scale globally. Obviously, they're going to sharpen certain skills that you may not be able to sharpen as an entrepreneur on your own or with a team. But passion-wise, whenever I'm doing entrepreneurship, I'm in the community, I'm working with people who are putting their dreams on the line, and that does something else for me. So you have to customize it to what your life is and understand what it is that you're getting from there. I would advise to do both, because at the end of the day, you have to figure out what your work is. Everybody's on this earth to provide something to give back to the world, and your path might be different. So you have to take the course that helps you become the best version of you. And if it's just entrepreneurship, it is putting both feet in like Darrell is, then do that. But if it's a combination of both or the other route, then do that. You have to figure out what time it is. So it's not a set stone for everybody out there.
And just add on that before you, I would not be where I am if I would not have done the corporate America days. I needed that. I needed that 5 years to grow me and to learn, like I said, from the corporate structure. Both is a great answer.
And I think it's really good just to comment on both what Nick and Rel said. It's like, you have to build your own experience. Nobody can tell you what entrepreneurship looks like. You guys have a huge benefit of just the times that we live in. You can create your job. You can have it look however you want. And so, when I was in college, I wanted to go to culinary school, but I had been told my whole life, you need to go ahead and get that degree. And I went, and best time ever, wouldn't change anything about that. But all of those years and all those experiences have kind of led me to where I am now. Even when I was teaching in education, I started to get really stressed, super stressful job, which led me to kind of doing other things. I've been a caterer in the past, I've held events in the past. And so just going through entrepreneurship and the woes of entrepreneurship led me to build my wellness job because I was stressed out. And entrepreneurship, it will take you under, it will change, it will make you really look in the mirror and say, like, who am I? And so that whole journey led me, because people always want to ask me, well, how did you end up starting your business? And I'm telling them straight up, like, because I was stressed out. And I needed to find routes that were geared toward brown people, and I didn't see a lot. So that is where I went into creating it. And so it's not one of those things where you have to get out there and look and say, okay, I want to be entrepreneurship, but let me figure out how to get there. Let me find some, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to be better, and you have to be determined. And a lot of people like to say you're born an entrepreneur or not. I don't believe that. I believe that the person who really gets what they want is the person who puts the most work in. You don't have to have the most talent. You don't have to have the most money. You have to be the person that's willing to work and work and work, and even work a little bit more when you see that your competitor is resting. So that is just something that my journey led me to be an entrepreneur. Even though I kind of always felt it, I had to go through, corporate America, go through, you know, other little jobs here and there, even being a caterer, even kind of being an entrepreneur in different ways. And like I said in my, intro, I don't think this is it for me. I've written books, I've done a couple things, so it's like, I'm still open to how entrepreneurship looks for me further down the road.
Yeah, kudos. And I echo the sentiments of my colleagues. I think I do both, and I work here in higher ed. But I knew for me, again, it goes back to people. And I shared a short story. I was in my apartment. It was like a cold day. It might have been like 20 degrees in North Carolina, and my heat went out. And I called, my landlord. I'm like, hey, Mr. Johnson, my heat went out. This is a Friday evening. I think my lady was coming over, so it's like I gotta make sure it's right. And he was like, "Oh, all right, we'll get to you Monday." Yeah. And hearing that and not being able to have control, I was like, "Oh, this won't happen to me again." And the next year, my lease got up, I bought a house, and I was like, well, "How can I teach other people to do this exact same thing?" Because people from where I'm from and look like me don't believe that they don't have enough money. That's always the thing. I don't have enough money. My credit ain't good enough. And I'm like, what's your credit? Oh, I got a 700. Baby, you could have bought 2 houses. And they just don't know. So for me, going into real estate, it was just out of pure passion of like hearing about my mother when she told me we lost grandma's house because nobody had paid the taxes. And I'm like, well, how much was the tax? Oh, they were like 3,500. What? And then it goes to a county auction block and somebody's gonna buy it. My other cousin bought a house on a block for $1. Yeah. So other people don't look like me are gonna buy these houses. All this land, my grandma had like 10 acres of land, a little small house. It was a white house. I never forget it. It was a dusty trail around it. But she lost that. And so for me, that was what I wanted to teach. That's why I started Strictly Business. It was like to take dilapidated homes to give people where I could rent it to people, but also talk about affordable homes. So I think to my colleague, you can do both. But you have to figure out, he said it best, you got to figure out what's your why. Like, why do you want to do this? And then you have so many tools. I mean, you can use Chat GPT to give you a whole business plan in a matter of seconds. Now you need to work that plan, but you ain't got to create it. So yeah,
Hopefully your why is not just to make money.
correct.
That would not take you far. Those times when it gets tough, it can't just be to make money. If you want to make money, then the most secure is probably a job.
Yeah.
But it has to be a little bit of a higher calling, like everybody here. It connects to their life. So it's something you want to leave behind. I know we're young. Am I still young?
Yeah.
We're still young. And we're hoping that when we get older, we'll be happy. We've dedicated our life forces to what we're doing, and that's where entrepreneurship kind of comes in.
Thank you for that. I'll call the next question. Did you ever feel lost or uncertain about your career path during or after college? How did you overcome that? And this goes for all of you.
Yeah, you said it best. I think, yeah, I often feel lost. I think sometimes in this, it's imposter syndrome. I'm like, why am I here? I told you my intro, country boy from a town with 500 people. I'm in the 4th largest city at the 2nd largest institution in Houston. Like, should I be here? I mean, that was my question when I first got here. I came in 2016 and I was like, man, like, should I be here? Then the second was like, I got my real estate license 2018. And I'm like, dang, so no house. And then, I'm like, okay, first deal comes, former student. Second deal comes, another student. And they're alum. And I'm like, okay, well, I should be here. But you see, don't compare yourself to your colleagues. Like, don't compare yourself. Run your race because you don't know what it means to be. And then when you meet somebody, they're like, dang, you said something to me and I remember that. Or, you were able to help me buy this house. And now, my grandmother bought a house or etc. You just never know. So I think stay in a lost position because you don't have it. I think we should all be lifelong learners. And as you heard colleagues say, like, okay, then I went and got my master's, or then I went and did this, because we're still hungry for more education or more knowledge. So that would be my thoughts.
I love that. Yeah, that's right on point. I get the question a lot. Somebody asks me, how am I doing? And, you know, I'll be like, hey, I'm good. And then they be like, oh, I'm trying to get like you. And my response every time is, I'm trying to get like you think I am.
Yeah.
Not okay. So, like I said, ups and downs is gonna be a thing. As far as uncertainty about where you're going, like I said, my whole plan was to like get that software job and just work it. You know, that was the plan. And it wasn't really a scary entrepreneur thing I was trying to jump into because I had my plan. But when it happened, it happened. So it was like an instant. Like I didn't have time to think about, is this the right thing to do? So I'm writing a book called Leaping with No Hops. This is about taking a leap without knowing anything about it.
I think I have a cousin who kind of, I guess, exemplifies this question. I think last year he was working at Tesla. And we were talking, he would tell me how he felt that, you know, his manager wasn't supporting him and he wasn't sure about where he was. And I was listening to him, but in my mind, I'm like, bro, you're working at Tesla, like it's like relax. And I've learned so much from this cousin. He's a younger guy, and I feel like his generation is different. And he lives in California, so they think a lot. They're so in touch with their feelings. And so he quit Tesla. With, you know, he had a 6-month savings, and he's like, I can't be here anymore. And he quit. And he's like, he zeroed in. I want to work at Apple. Like he envisioned that they're going to give me the support I need. And he went after that, and now he works at Apple, right? And great. He worked on the iPhone 16. It came out, and then a few months ago, he was like, "Sure that I'm not sure that I'm happier. Like, is this what my calling is?" And I tell that story because like he pushes me to shake like my, you know, my comfort, or not maybe comfort, like my assuredness in where I am. And in the same way, he makes me reassured. It helps me feel like I'm reassured in where I am. Because when I'm doing the work that I do, I feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. When I'm talking to people, when people tell me about their businesses and I'm helping them, I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. So I say all that to say, embrace that searching. I won't call it being lost. Being lost is a final answer. Searching is constant. So embrace that search. Embrace when you're feeling like I need to figure out what's next, and listen to that, follow it, see where it leads you, and don't be afraid to kind of see, okay, what's next.
As a life coach, I teach people all the time just how to embrace the ebbs and flows of life. And you experience a lot of that in college. You know, there's a lot of uncertainty. And I always teach, especially you, not only look at like what you like to do, look at where the job opportunities lie. Because you want to look at like, what is your future? A lot of times we're looking at things just in a snapshot of like tomorrow. And that's just not a good way of looking at things, especially when you talk about like job security and things like that. I say all that to say, sometimes when you're getting settled into your career, or just even with entrepreneurship, you're thinking about, okay, what will make me money, or how can I get there quick? And for me, it just wasn't that. I got settled into like what called me, and it wasn't just me making a decision, but it just kind of happened to me. But I've never felt more like myself than doing the work that I do. And it kind of goes back to like what people used to always call me for. And I've talked to some students about like, what are you good at without having to do it? And so your passions will lie in some things that you feel like you're good at, but what would you do for free? And those things, I know it sounds like cliche, but being a person who is an entrepreneur, you have so many ebbs and flows. You have really good times, you have really, really hard times where you are down and you don't even know if this is something that you can maintain. But what keeps you there is knowing that this is what you were made for. And so having moments like that, I've never had any moments like that doing any other kind of jobs. I've had a lot of jobs. So, you know, I love students. I love the work that I do. I love working with people. I love talking and writing. And those are things that I get to do in my career. And people who know me personally, they're like, you know, this work is made for you, because that is just kind of what I was good at before I got any type of traditional schooling. So I base it on what I'm good at, and it kind of just
flows naturally, but you definitely have to journey to find that. It's not gonna be something you just pick out of a hat or like from Myers-Briggs.
I love that. Thank you, guys. We actually have another question here.
Oh, okay, I'm Brandon, I'm glad to be here, I didn't even know this was happening. My friend told me about this event, but, this is great, so. I'm currently in the process of starting my own company at the moment, I just opened up my LLC about 2 months ago. Since I saw that I was being underpaid, they were paying me like 25, and I saw the contracts they're making, they're like paying $300 for my time.
Period.
So,
That's good.
I mean, and then I was basically doing all the work myself, I was doing all the engagements, all the reporting, talking with the client, so I'm like, man, I could just do this on my own. I can just open up my own consultancy and start doing it on my own, so, but I do have a little bit of trouble, because it is something I'm not good at. But it's kind of crazy, because like you were saying, like, you just come up to it, like, I've been doing this since I was like 12 years old. And then I fell out of it, and then I came back in and dropped out of school, came back in, now I'm about to graduate this semester. So, it's kind of hard, because like, there's a lot of marketing, a lot of the business side of things, which I'm not as good, I'm more on the computer side of things, so. I don't know if you have any advice for that.
Well, first of all, congratulations. It's amazing. I think a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions, and you guys correct me because I don't know everything. He just looked at me, so I'm answering. I feel like some people, when you become an entrepreneur, it's like, okay, you wake up and you're like, hey, I have to do everything by myself. That's true, but not really. Like a smart business-minded person knows that they cannot do everything by themselves. You have to get ready to go and find a team. And if you can't find a team, you need to go and get all the free resources that you can get. And you need to understand that you are building something that's gonna last. And so you have to have the patience to understand that it's gonna be block by block by block. Like you said, you've been doing this for a long time. So being patient with yourself is understanding you're not gonna come out the gate really knowing everything that you need to know. But you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You need to look up, my advice would be for you to find somebody who is where you're trying to go and, go past and figure out how they got there. Find a mentor. Use free resources. Use your resources here. And congratulations on getting ready to graduate, but there's a lot of resources that are out there. And so tap into those things, tap into people who are here. There are so many resources within this building and people that may know, that may know someone who knows someone. And just go from there, but just remember to be patient with yourself because you're doing a huge thing and this is a huge undertaking, and congratulations to you again.
I've been a dumb entrepreneur for 2 years. I was trying to do everything by myself in 2 years.
Yeah.
And I was making it, but I didn't take off until I got a team. When I got the team, everything changed. I felt like a superstar. I felt like I can do everything. I can do marketing, I can do numbers, do accounting, I can do coding. But where's the time in? I don't have time to do all of those things, even if I'm semi-good at those things, which I thought I was great, but I was mediocre at some of the things. But when I got the team, that's when the business just took off and trusted the team. So 100% is the solo entrepreneurship journey is doable, but I wouldn't recommend it.
I mean, I would add, I know sometimes we don't like to point this part out, but running a business is hard. So when you make that journey, you're like, oh, that's why that person is making that much money, or that's why there's a lot of risk that goes into it. And it doesn't mean that you can't do it, but when you jump on that other side, there is a moment to realize if this is difficult and there are lots going on here, then you branch out. So once you have that, if you really have that moment, you're like, okay, I need help, right? So I need resources, and I need a team. Doesn't mean you might not be able to pay the team immediately, but you have to align on something. You have to believe in what you're doing, or people have similar experiences. They're building themselves by working with you. You gotta find a way to align yourself with others, so you're not by yourself and everything's not dependent on you. So I just want to call out that part, that it is difficult, and we're talking about the $25 versus $300. There is a reason that it's stacked that way, because it's quite an undertaking, so, but more power to you for making that jump, keep moving forward. One thing that, right under a little bit, one thing that he's very good at doing is putting blinders on and just moving forward, and then I guess I have to see for him. But it's good to have those people around you, so allow you to not get bogged down by certain things that you're not good at, to have that passion, have that vision that drove you to start the business, so you don't want that to die. So you definitely need to expand with the team.
I have a question, y'all.
Yes, please.
What did you do in college to stand out from your peers and gain an edge in your field?
Oh, yeah, what we did in college, right?
I got old jokes, I don't know where it came from.
That's true. That's real. That's real. No, you know, I think, for me in college, it was really just like, Brandon said, it was like showing up the stuff that I shouldn't even have been at. Like, I remember I walked into a session, I was dressed up that day, cause it was our dress up day for my organization. And a lady was like, man, you look nice, you should come to this meeting. And instead of just acting like I didn't wanna go, I was like, oh yeah, sure. And then I got my first internship. I had never traveled outside of North Carolina. I went to Ohio. It was the most money I'd ever made. And I was doing accounting work for the government. And I got to see people, I was interning with people from large, very large institutions. And that was that moment where I was like, okay, if this is how it is, so then every time they had something, I used to go to the lab, and I would just delete all my emails at one time, because my emails had a lot of emails. You know, you get a lot of emails in college, and I would just hit delete. And then when I got back from the intern, I just started checking them. And I was like, oh, y'all taking people to New York? All you gotta do is sign up. Sign me up. Oh, you need to volunteer for this and you can apply for this scholarship? Sign me up. And so I'm taking that approach with how I do my work here. So, you know, getting into education, I'm just like, okay, I always wanted to volunteer for an event. You want to recruit at night? Okay, I'm going there. You going to a football game to recruit? I'm going there. You know, now I'm here. We just went to Austin yesterday. Do we need to be here at 5:30? I hate morning time, but because I'm not a morning person. But I was like, okay, I'm here because I want to be that person, and I want people to know, like, oh, this guy, he may not know everything. But he knows somebody that knows everything. So I like connecting that way. So those are ways that I just stood out. But also my last thing is just, I think it's power in the tongue. And I just started to believe in college for sure that it was nothing that I couldn't do. It was like, you couldn't tell me. I'm like, my buddy's like, I'm out working. I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna stay late, I'm gonna find out things. I was walking with somebody today. I'm gonna connect with you. I wanna know you. Like, I wanna know your name. I wanna know what color you into. I wanna know all the things. Like colleagues here, I already saw his business cards in his pocket. I'm kind of one of them, you know. I done peeked in his pocket. You see what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you know. And so yeah, those are the things that I like try to do. And I think, you know, it's an excellent question, but I think that was the ways that I just wanted to stand out. And I let my professors know, I let my colleagues know, and friends know. And even to this day, I keep the same number. I had the same number since I was 16. So people can just always, they're like, hey, cool, this you? Yep, this me, man. Hey, where you at? I'm in Houston. They're like, dang, you got North Carolina? Yep, I'm still here though. So those are some ways I stood out.
I will say what he mentioned was super important is building community. When I was in college, that is one thing that I did do. I was thinking, okay. But they will tell you when you're in college, look at your peers. These are the people who will hire you, fire you, and who you'll be working alongside. And back then it was kind of like, okay, no, it's really true. The person who invited me today is my sorority sister. Like my close core group of friends and people that I reach out to for resources, all college, every single one of them, or before maybe like high school. But when I tell you it is super important, even to the gentleman who was saying that he was getting ready to start a business, I would also tell you that your community, start joining some of these like business groups, the Greater Houston Chamber, anything where you see a lot of other entrepreneurs there, a lot of business people who are working for organizations, get out there and get with them. And just because somebody is an entrepreneur doesn't mean that you can't learn from them. But I would say the community piece is super, super, super important for you to remain tapped in, because a lot of times it isn't your qualifications that gets you there, but it's who you know. Because sometimes they'll be looking for people to just fill that spot last minute, like, oh man, I need one more person. and it's about who you know. So I would say definitely get tapped into your organizations here and your advisors and things of that nature. Like get tapped into the people here who already have jobs, who are doing things, who are within this organization.
You had something too.
Oh, yeah, I had a question. I had two questions. One's for Darrell, right? So it's an aspiring software engineer myself. You said you got into it and you hated it. Can you tell, like, expand on that? Why you hated it? Yeah.
You talk about the corporate part, right?
Yeah. it's
I
software
didn't hate, I love software engineering, I'm a coder by heart.
Okay.
The part I hated about it was when I found out what I was getting paid. If they would have been paying me for software engineering and the company I was working for was getting paid for software engineering, I would have been happy. But I was doing software engineering. I was doing, I had 7, I think it was 8 buckets they were paying me on. So yeah, it was, I love software engineering. And I recommend, in the software engineering field, I do recommend going into some kind of corporate. Because I learned a lot of theory in college about engineering. I can code, code a calculator, whatever what's the Bixby, whatever, I don't know what the senior design projects are now, but it's different when you're in real life and you have, 4,000 people working on the same project. So that experience really helped. So I do suggest for a software engineer to get that experience.
Okay. And my second question is, how has networking helped any of you all in your careers or to get opportunities?
Yeah, it's everything. So he was saying earlier about the college question, how he networked in college and I wasn't doing that in college, but I started doing that as an entrepreneur, and that's literally the thing. Every single 6-figure client I've ever had came from a referral. I never just cold call a 6-figure deal. They all come from somebody. I'm here right now because I know people. I was at 3 events earlier today because I know people. Nick always calls me the master networker. You can go to 4 networking events today in Houston. You can. I don't recommend that. When I first started, when I first year 1, I was at every networking event in Houston, like for sure. That's not a distraction. It's only so much time. A lot of these events are parties. Network. If the network event starts at 9 o'clock. If you're at Afro Tech after 7. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I think too, I think sometimes you network with a purpose as well. I think as you all have been talking, like Brandon was talking about his company, you're putting it out there in the atmosphere because you don't know who he's gonna hire from this room right now. Or you don't know who's gonna partner with him, who wants to become a partner in his LLC. I think that's been important for me. But you also hear me talk about, I wanna know you. So like, I'm not coming at you as a network. Like, I got the card because I want to have a conversation later. Like, well, how can we connect? Like, I don't know what we can do together. Or maybe he's like, well, have you tried this for your business? Or, wrote this code for, ChatGPT, or this prompt that's going to get you this many new leads. That could be something that I need. And he know.
I already know what we're doing together.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think that's been kind of crucial. And she said it best. Don't overlook this room you in. Like, I know, I think the pandemic was really rough on a lot of college age students right now because you all went behind the screen, a black screen. That's why if you ever done a call with me, I'm always on the screen. Like I rarely will have a Zoom with my face off because I want you to see me. One, I done told myself that I'm fine. I believe it, so you need to see it too. But it's the reason I say it's the power of it is like making sure I know, okay, you're gonna see me in the hallway later and then like, hey, I was on the Zoom with you. Yep. And then it's like you said something about getting involved. Yep. And then now I want you to start another club. Then I'm writing that on my course. And when I'm giving my, supervisors information, I'm like, okay, yeah, we started 3 new clubs. Now, how you start so many? Because I'm just out talking to people. I'm networking. So that would be, another suggestion.
I think networking expands your reach because you're only at so many places. But a lot of the experiences and the opportunities I've gotten have been because I've had run-ins with people. And then they're like, oh, well, my manager said that you were really nice when she met you at such and such. So it's like, it expands your reach when you're not able to have that FaceTime. or you can't make this event because you're at another event. But somebody has met you or had an experience with you and they pass that on. So it goes beyond what you're able to do because it's only so much time in a day. And they also say that you're successful in business when you start seeing strangers. Because, you know, when you first start with business, you're marketing to your family, your friends, they could care less. They're like, girl, I do not need any self-care, nothing, no books, no card. But when I started seeing strangers at my events, they did something different to me because that meant that my reach was getting further. And it was spreading from people that I knew to people who just really had a need, and I was there to fill the need. So it just kind of, you know, helps you in the long run, honestly, and signs you up for things you didn't even know you were signing yourself up for.
To pick back up the first thing you said real quick, I think it's very important to be in the room while not in the room. I've gotten lots of deals from my networking, and not just networking, but expanding, letting people know exactly what I do. So if I meet him at a networking event, maybe multiple networking events, he kind of knows what I do. If I don't really know, if he don't know my business, then he can't really talk about it. But if he knows my business and he's in a room and somebody says something about a mobile app, he's gonna be like, oh, well, he makes apps, blah, blah. He's gonna be able to sell for me. So when you start having people sell for you and you don't even ask them to, that's when things change. And that starts with, like you said, having your name in rooms that you're not in.
And Darrell's not lying because I have seen Fresh Tech on so much stuff. It'll be random. It'll be like an ad on Facebook. It'll be like, they'll be at the bottom of a flyer. I see their name everywhere. And we're in totally different industries.
For those,
They're out there.
for those that don't like networking, introverts and whatnot, you still have to network. But I don't like networking. I don't like it. I hate it, but I'm still good at it. So, I force myself to come out.
I force you.
No, the money, I only come out when it's necessary. But when I'm out networking, I'm out with a purpose. And I fully commit to it. Like I want to talk to people because I'm not just out there to check boxes. I actually want to talk to people. I just can't do it that often. I recognize that about myself. If I'm networking as often as he is, I'm gonna be an can I say asshole? No. I'm gonna be a bad, I'm not gonna be a pleasant person to be around. So know yourself, right? And if you're not strong in networking, connect with someone who's extroverted so that they know, hey, on these two events,
I need you there.
we gotta be at these events for you know, for whatever reason it is. So there is a space for people who are not extroverted, who don't want to network. You still have to do it, but you can be strategic to make sure you get the most out of it. I don't want people to think, oh my God, I can be an entrepreneur because I don't like people. I like them a little bit and you can manage that.
Just want to say goodbye. Since you're talking about networking, there's a networking event that I have to go to.
I think you should get a card though before you go.
Sure.
Yeah.
But text me the networking event. I meet you.
It's at the post.
Oh,
So
down the street.
It's,
Yeah.
it's STEM burst, that's basically all
that
the,
people.
Yeah.
So you guys want to network with them.
yeah, all of the STEM ones are.
Thank you.
are-
You're gonna
are,
see where-
for Awesome.
Thank you so much.
But thanks for talking, it was really great talk, thank you guys.
Does anyone else want to go? I don't want to be the last person. Anybody? No? Oh, go ahead.
Question?
Okay, so I am a geology student, and so a lot of people in my like immediate department, they're always like masters. But I heard that most of you, if not all of you, have your masters. So would you recommend going straight to grad school or waiting until you get to the workforce and meet people who are like, or get work at a place where they'd be willing to like help you pay for your masters?
I think I'm the only one here without a master.
But technically, you almost got it.
Okay, so I was thinking this. When I graduated Prairie View, like I said, my whole point was to get that job. When I graduated Prairie View, that job didn't come. The only reason I went to grad school was to get that job. I was 2 years in UTSA. My mom's mad at me for this. I'm 6 credits away with a 4.0 GPA. And that's when I got hired by Tata. And Tata said I have to do a 6-month training in India. So I never went back to finish that master's degree.
That's
People
two
ask me all the
classes.
time,
Mm.
bro, you have a 4.0 with 6 credits away, go get your master's. And I say that all the time, I'm not going to live in San Antonio for any amount of months. It's research classes. Secondly, what am I gonna do with this degree?
I have a question for you though.
Mhm.
If you did your master's, do you know what you would specialize in?
So because geology is so broad, I'm always learning like new things that I like. So I feel like it's really at this point it's leaning towards like structural geology, which is very like physics heavy, or paleontology, which is just fossils.
So, I did similarly, did the master's, got the job. Abandoned it because just it wouldn't work. And then when I went back to get my master's, a few years ago. At that point, when I did that math, I knew exactly what I was doing. I knew why I was doing it. So that was a completely different experience. So if you can go to work first and kind of figure out what I don't like, what I do like. That way, when you're getting your master's, it's not to check a box because it's going to be significant investment of time and money. So, if you could get masters, you get a master's degree, get a great job and be stuck on a path that you don't even want to go to. And now you've sunk costs, already invested some and now got to keep going. So if you can, I think it would be good to get a little bit more experience and figure out, okay, what is it that I want to do? Focus on my master's and make that be the deciding factor.
Thank you.
I totally agree. I'm working on my second master's right now, and I tell people all the time, for what? Like, don't get it if you don't have to. For me, I use my degrees,
Right.
but it wasn't like that always. And I used to be extremely upset when I wasn't using them because the debt is really real. And it
Yeah.
sounds like it's real in your line too.
Yeah.
But don't let the people that you're working with every day muscle you into getting a master's just because that's the way it seems like it should be. Like, you have to have your own plan, because I know a lot of people, I would say more than none, that are in a field where they want to be and are getting paid handsomely and don't have any additional degrees. Some of them don't have any degrees,
Yeah,
so it would depend on you. No, go ahead.
yeah, I always tell my boyfriend like fail safe, go work for Aramco in Saudi Arabia, never see anyone ever again.
Listen, that sounds great to me. They have demand over there. That's what people need to look into, because like, you go into college thinking like, oh, I wanna do this because I love it. But what happens after you graduate? Like, I came out of college and thought I was going straight into I did communications with a minor in English. I thought I was going straight into like radio and television. No, because you have to have internships, which I did have, but you also have to have movement, and you have to have motion, and you have to know people, and it's like in that field. And that takes time, and I didn't have time for that, so I started getting into other industries. So it's like, remember what I had mentioned about that snapshot? You sound like you're thinking of it along a timeline. So who's to say you can't go get a master's a year later? Just let those experiences shape you and see where you need to be, because like you mentioned, you might get somebody who will pay for that, and that is always the goal. Use somebody else's money.
Yes, sir.
As entrepreneurs, how do you guys manage people? Because I know that's one of the hardest things as an entrepreneur or business owner, or even maintaining relationships with customers and clients.
How do you manage people outside of entrepreneurship? How do you manage your relationship with your parents, your loved ones? How do you manage relationships with anybody you care about? I don't want to work with anybody that I don't care about. When I talk to a business owner and they're telling me about their hopes and their dreams and what they're working on, I mean, that's serious. So if I don't like you, if I don't trust you, or, then I'm not working with you. So the relational piece is real. At least that's what guides me. It's not transactional. So the way I manage people is the same way. If someone's on the project team, if I have to like push you and have to worry about you, then it's not gonna work. So people have to be aligned, people have to be self-motivated. And so I'm not really managing you as much as I'm trying to get things out of your way so you can be better, right? So people should manage themselves. You need to be self-motivated. And if they're not, then they shouldn't be on your team.
I think go ahead, Ro. Go ahead.
I'm gonna keep it real short. It's easy for me because, on the internal side, it's easy for me because everybody I hire are entrepreneurs. So they have that mindset already. So I don't have to worry about micromanaging them.
And the industry does that too.
Yes.
Sorry, not Dr. Joe, but if you're in the industry, if you're getting a job at anywhere else, you're gonna see entrepreneurial mindset listed in the criteria. They're gonna ask you, are you thinking about this as a business? So it's not just at an entrepreneurship world, it's a global mindset, sorry.
I think one piece of it is kind of realizing what kind of people you like to work with, because everybody works with people differently. And I think also just being willing to fold and grow, because I'm one type of person in life and then I'm another type of person in my business. And so when I work with people that I know, or like maybe like, I don't know, a friend of a friend or a family, they could be shocked by like me in my role as a business person, but you have to be able to kind of pick up that when it's time to be a businesswoman, and you can't just be who you'll be on the street, because if everybody could do it, if it was easy, everybody could do it, and everybody can. So you have to really just be willing to grow and learn stuff from other people. You know, I didn't wake up knowing how to be an entrepreneur, like I'm not there yet. Even now, I'm still always learning. And so just being comfortable with being uncomfortable.
What's your name?
Tremaine.
Jermaine? Oh, I think, I don't know if you want to speak about being authentic. I'm tired of hearing this boy talk. But I feel like you're very authentic.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, that was gonna be part of my thought process on this, is that you have to understand who you are. I think when I became a manager, in community college, I was like 23, and people kept trying to tell me how I should be. But that wasn't who I was to the core. It just wasn't who I was. I wanted to have indirect conversations versus direct conversations. And that worked for me because I wanted to, similar to my buddy, I wanted people to like me as a person. I understood that outside of this world, I didn't know how we would connect. You heard me say my first three deals were former students. So if I'm treating them like trash, even if I gotta push them a little bit, that's one thing. I've had to fire students or fire people, but I like when they come back to me and say, you know, firing me was the greatest thing you could have done for me. That was a real statement a student told me. He said, I wouldn't have graduated if you didn't fire me. I was too all over the place. And I was like, yeah, I knew that. You know, you went into anime, and then you wanted to work with us, and then, you know, but
Shots at anime for no reason.
So, you know, but I appreciate that. And then later down the line, after that conversation, he called me, he said, look, you know, I'm making, I think it was him and his girl making like baskets or something for clients when we closed. And so I used him, so I was able to use his business when I closed, and I was like, okay, I got a couple of closings, can you supply them with something? And so that was something. So I think it is about being to the core of who you are. You heard him talk about the introvert versus extrovert and networking. It's like, well, if I'm an introvert, I'm bringing my buddy who's the extrovert because you know who you are. And it's like, and that's okay. And like, again, it goes back to me. I know who I am, and I'm comfortable in that skin. And so I don't compare. I will model things. I will look at a colleague to say, okay, her LinkedIn profile is wonderful. Let me take a little bit of that objective and add it to mine. But I'm not gonna look at it like she's got 1,000 clients and I only have 10, because I may not have the time to take 1,000 clients. And I had to learn that going into real estate early. It's like, I don't want 25 clients, too many. Because when theory is gonna say, well, this is how you write a contract, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But practical is gonna teach you, have you done a contract when a husband and wife get divorced and now you're the middle person? There ain't no book gonna prepare you for that. So when people they're calling you, they're crying because they've had a death in their family, and now they were so excited about buying, and now they just bought this big deal, and now they gotta sell it. The book is not gonna teach you that. That's just gonna come with experience over time, and you can talk to other colleagues who have dealt with that. I taught my sister-in-law to get her real estate license, so now that's mostly our conversations about how we deal with clients, and it's a lot about who we are. She's a little different than me, but we run our races similar. So yeah, that was an excellent question.
I would also say be sure of yourself, because regardless of whether you're managing or being managed, just be sure of yourself so that you know which way to lean when questioned about situations or how to just proceed.
What's some advice y'all could give us as college students? Most of us are about to graduate. Some of us probably still have a couple more classes to take before we graduate, just life advice.
Life advice or business advice?
It could be both.
Yeah, there he is. I would say have fun. Because in the times that we're in, like, everybody is so focused on like how to one up the next person. And I feel like if that's your stick and that's your stick, and that's cool too. But I think that even with being entrepreneurs, the hustle of it all, just getting caught up in that, it can be very unhealthy. So make sure you find a balance. I'm not telling you not to get caught up in hustle culture. I'm just saying that I've seen a lot of people burn out, and it can really be bad for your health. So I just think that you should find a balance, and also just really tap into something that you love, but be careful, because sometimes when you use your hobbies, it can get away from being so fun because you do it all the time. So just kind of be okay with navigating that space and have fun.
Yeah, I think too, to definitely have fun. I mean, that's why when you asked the college question, I had to think about which story I could tell you. College was great. I had a good time. But I think for me, my advice to you is don't be afraid of the opportunities, and don't be afraid to put yourself out there. It's easy to say, I'm not qualified for this, and then don't even do the app. And then you find out later that they only had 3 people to apply, and you were, arguably better than all of them. But you didn't put yourself out there. Or, she was talking about Saudi Arabia, and it's like, well, maybe that is. You heard him say, I had to spend 6 months in India. Somebody didn't go because they were scared to go out of country. They were like, no, I can't be away from my family, or, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you gotta just be able to take that leap. They're gonna pay for you to go too. It's like, that's why I tell you, Ohio, they were like, they're gonna fly me there, I'm out. There was nothing to it. And did I face any obstacles? I think that was the first time I saw, I won't say it was any type of racism, but it was just, I remember I got on the elevator, me and my buddy, and we were just chopping it up and talking. And we from country, and we speaking to everybody. Hey, how you doing, sir? And we spoke to 2 people in the elevator. And that was the first time I spoke to some people, and they didn't flinch. They did not stop any point of their conversation. Like, hey, how you doing, sir? And they were just like still going just like that. And the elevator said, bing, and then they got off. And I was like, oh man, because I speak, people always say, they'll say something, give your head nod. But I think, go to the opportunity, definitely have fun with it. Life is short. And so you want to have memories that will hold you in those dark times where you like, damn, I remember that. So kudos for you, about to graduate too.
Yeah, for sure.
For me, I'm gonna give some advice that I want to give myself still to this day. Right now, at this very moment, health. I think I'm Superman sometimes. I haven't been asleep, and I didn't go to sleep last night. You probably can't tell, but I haven't been asleep in like 48 hours. And we had deadlines, and it's not normally like that, but I still think I'm Superman. I still think I'm good, but I know what you say, you getting what? You say you getting young.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so we're getting a little young. So we have to start thinking about those things. No, seriously, because like I really think I'm Superman. I really think I can go dunk on LeBron right now.
You're not lying.
No, but seriously, take care of your health. I need to listen to that. He tells me all the time. He gets proud of me when he sees me eat a salad. He's like,
Drink water.
So yeah, take care of yourself, and I'm listening to that too.
And I would say, I have, an athletic mindset to things, a big part of my identity. And the difference between great athletes and, I guess others that are not great is not talent, is the great athletes, they enjoy practice. Like practice is fun, like they get a new move, they can't wait to go out there, they're just there for hours and hours, and it's not work to them. So, that just leads me into purpose, like, because that's what you're doing, what you're supposed to be doing. Like, it doesn't feel, it's your cheat code, that's your genetic edge. So if you find what that is and you find a way to apply it, like, just dwell in that, just keep going, because that's what's going to differentiate. That's why you can go 40. Yes, it was.
I was in practice.
It was a hard couple of hours, but we had a lot of deals that were on the table. We had to put in work, and it was fun to do that because it was successful, right? So you have to find whatever that is, just go for that feeling and tap into it. So find your purpose, and when you find your purpose and your passion aligns with your purpose, it's gonna feel a little bit easy, even though it's difficult, if that makes sense.
That's really good advice.
Just a follow-up question, because you brought up athletes, right? Athletes, the great ones are super disciplined. How do you guys stay disciplined in what you're trying to do and not get distracted by the noise outside?
This guy, y'all need to hire him.
Entrepreneurship is, it's free, it's moving, it's flowing, there's a lot coming in. If you're not disciplined, if you don't have an anchor, you will just get swept away. So you have no choice but to discipline, but the same athletic thing, like, you've seen the Kobe stories, people are coming back from the club, he's waking up to go to the gym, that's what just keeps you going, and it's not for the good times. Good times, everything's running, there's the times when it's hard, that discipline, that muscle memory will kick in. I can't go to sleep when there's a deadline, I won't be able to sleep, that you build that in to help you for those moments, so the discipline is critical.
I think for me, I wasn't seeing enough success in my business, but because when you start into entrepreneurship, there's nobody to tell you how to do it, especially if you're creating a lane. I was creating a lane, and so I didn't really know where to reach out for inspiration. So I was learning everything that I could learn, but also I was doing something different than what I had done because I was seeing the results wasn't yielding me enough of anything. So I had a year where I was making sure that I did something every day for my business, like in the beginning stages. And, you have to miss out on things, but, miss out on family stuff, miss out on birthdays, but you have to really bend and try to do something that your body doesn't want to do. That is the biggest piece of discipline for me because I'm not naturally disciplined. Like, I want to chill, hang out, Netflix like everybody else. But I get very unhappy when I'm not able to do like what I'm purposed to do. And even being on this panel has like helped me just strengthen, I have a mental health podcast and I haven't been doing it lately because I've been so busy with with everything else, but I live to talk to people. That's why I don't mind taking over panels. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll talk to you all day. That's my background. So just getting out and doing stuff like this and just doing stuff that you don't do on a regular, it will help strengthen your skills and help make you a better entrepreneur. So.
I have one more thing to say. This one word, that I think we didn't mention, and that's really the key to my success is God. And I'm just gonna leave it there.
Thanks.
All right, well, give our panelists a round of applause for coming out today. And thank you all for all the many questions that y'all asked. Y'all asked fabulous questions. If you want to stay after and take a picture with our panelists, we'll be taking a picture. And if you want to do your own networking and get their contact information, we do have that on the screen. You can take a picture. And we will be sending out this entire PowerPoint to you guys tomorrow. So look out for it there. But thank you all for attending, and for our panelists, we have wonderful gifts for you guys. And then before you guys all go, we're gonna be sending out a link for a survey. It's for feedback, so we wanna know how we did, what you would wanna see for our next program meeting. If you don't take it, I'm gonna check. If you didn't take it, I'm gonna reach out to you personally and email you, okay? Okay? You guys are all dismissed. Thank you guys for coming.
Someone in the chat says,
Yes.
thank you so much, you panel really cheered me up after a rough day.
Oh, happy. Yeah. Oh, did you guys have any questions before we?
Did the
conclude
chat
it?
have any questions?
No?
Oh, yeah.
You want to have a break?
Let me see.